Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Real Sports Updates here, back again with another video. Um, Before I start, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Got more content coming out. So yeah, let's get to today's topic. You see the thumbnail and the title. LeBron James is done winning championships, um, and I'll just put it out there just like that. Now, before the Bron sexuals come at me, just look at it, man. LeBron's in his 19th year. Okay, he constructed this team very, very poorly. He's been a guy who has really constructed his team everywhere he's went throughout his career. But this is quite possibly the worst team that he's constructed. Um, Obviously, the Russell Westbrook trade is a huge mistake, and they're on the verge of trading him. We'll see what happens in the next 24 hours, but he's done winning championships. The Lakers don't really have a whole lot of assets to offer any team in trades. Um, the coaching situation with Frank Vogel, it doesn't look like it's going to work out long term. So there's several other reasons why I believe he won't win the championship anytime soon. But I mean, it is what it is, right? So, last night's loss to the Bucks. It was very surprising for me watching because I didn't watch too much of the game. I honestly tuned out after the second quarter, whatever it was, when they were just getting blown out. They down by 30. Um, I was very surprised and a little bit taken back by the players' responses to the loss. You know, to me, it feels like they they thought that they were better than what their record indicates, and you know, looking at LeBron and AD that last whatever 6 minutes of the game it was when they sat down on the bench, looking at their body language, looking at them being dejected, or and even in the post game press conference as well too. Those it was like a kind of a somber mood, and I think I was very very surprised at that because I don't know if they thought that they were just going to go on some run, if they thought they were going to get up in the morning, just one random morning and have everything just, come together like that, and, with the snap of a finger, um, have guys start playing well and shooting the ball well and playing defense well and giving effort. It doesn't just happen that way. And I don't know, I don't know. I think that they were holding on hope to maybe have some type of situation like that happen, but it's not happening. And nobody is coming to rescue the Lakers. And I think last night was probably the first night realistically that the team, LeBron, AD, the leaders, the guys, you know, the guys who seem to have the most confidence and seems to, speak, positively after every press conference. They look like they were just down and out and kind of dejected. It last night was these games against these good teams. There's only a few really contending teams in the league this year. It's been a plethora of injuries, guys not playing well. It has not it hasn't been a great season for the NBA in general, just in game play. You guys haven't really played well. There hasn't been a lot of teams that's played well. A lot of the teams in the Western Conference who you thought were going to be really good, they've struggled. And like I said, there's been injuries, but a lot of guys are just not stepping up. And this is one. Last night was one of those games. I think the Bucks. They've kind of been sleepwalking a little bit. They won the championship last year, and I think they're contenders this year. But they're in that mode where they're trying to get through the regular season, and it looks like they're just trying to get through the regular season without any injuries and stuff like that. So they're kind of sleepwalking. So they've been up and down. They've lost some games that they shouldn't have lost. And their energy as a team has just kind of been like up and down. But there are a lot of vets on the team. And they have championship experience now. So until somebody beats them and proves that they are a better team than Milwaukee, I'm going with with Milwaukee to possibly repeat and just get through the playoff run very easily. And it seems like they're trying to just get through this regular season. They didn't seem, but it seems like for these big games against the Lakers, the Clippers, these big teams, big name teams, the Bucks come out with some energy, and they did last night. They put it on the Lakers from the very beginning. They went up by 20, I think, at the beginning of the second quarter, and aside from that little run in the fourth quarter, they never really looked back. So I think the Bucks are a team who are they're going to do well in the playoffs. And like I said, they have their championship experience now. So, but it means something to come out to LA and to beat the Lakers, to beat them as bad as they did. For Giannis to look as good as he did as well too. While all of a lot of sports media has descended upon LA for Super Bowl week. They're doing the whole the radio thing and the TV shows, and a lot of them are broadcasting live across the street at the convention center, right across the street from Staples Center, or formerly Staples Center. But they're right there, so there's a lot of people. There was a lot of people at the game. There was a lot of um, you know just a bunch of sports media professionals at the game. You know, Men and women who don't normally get to go to Laker games. People from all over. So they got to sit there and watch that beatdown live in person. So I think, um, to me, it seemed like the Bucks were trying to send a message that hey, we are, even though we're sleepwalking, we're not as 100% focused as we were last year. We can still come out and be that team, who won the championship last year. And that's what it looked like to me. And as far as the Lakers go, man, like I said, it was very surprising to me, their reactions to how bad they were losing. And to me, it seems like they don't think that they are as bad as the record is. And that's a little perplexing to me because the Lakers have played just as bad as their record has been. And some can argue even worse. The Lakers have not been a good team all season long. They've been inconsistent on so many levels. From you can look at the lineup has been inconsistent. Due to injuries, guys not playing well, whatever. Um, you know, Defensively, it hasn't even been inconsistent. There hasn't just been any effort there. Shooting, has been inconsistent. Some guys are able to put together a good stretch of 2 or 3 games, and then they go cold for big stretches. The Lakers have not played well. This is a old. When people have pointed it out, and people, they're going to keep talking about it, how old they are, but it is an issue, and it's a problem because these guys are not. They're built. They are. This team is built to do decently in the playoffs, just based off of all the veterans that they have. And I pointed this out in other videos before too. But this is the regular season. The grind is still on. There's still a lot of the regular season left to go. And I don't know if the Lakers, their vets, especially in the second unit, I don't think they're going to be able to make it through the season. Healthy at least. And I don't. If they do make it through the season, they won't be playing well just because of how old they are. A lot of these guys have played a lot of big playoff minutes. Um, so that mixed with the lack of defense is pretty much, and along with the injuries and the play by Anthony Davis. That you mix that all together in the pot is your recipe for disaster as far as your team goes. So the Lakers are not they're really not in a place where they should be surprised by this. It's been over 50 games. If you have played bad basketball, for 50 something games out of 82, you're past that halfway mark. Now you play bad basketball for 60% of the season. So you really can't expect a miracle at this point. And um, the trade deadline is tomorrow. Tomorrow at is it 3 o'clock Eastern, I believe. So just less than 24 hours away from the trade deadline. Russell Westbrook seems to be on his way out. There's been a lot of different reports coming out, a lot of conflicting reports about what his future could be, where he might be headed. And like I said before, I think the only reasonable trade out there is to Houston for John Wall. That trade seems to be ready to go. I think the Lakers just have to give it a green light. And they're going to have to include the 2027 first round draft pick. That's 5 years from now. So you're potentially looking at drafting that first round draft pick could be a kid who is what 14 years old right now, potentially 13 years old or eighth grader. Um, that's a that's a long time from now. But the Lakers are just going to have to give up that draft pick, and this Russell Westbrook trade was a complete gamble. You didn't know what you were going to get. You didn't know there was questions around it. Questions surrounding can Westbrook fit in? Will he change up his game? Will he do things differently to fit in here? And the resounding answer has been no. I think we've all seen enough that he's not going to change his game. He's not going to um, do the necessary things that he needs to do in order to fit in order for the Lakers to have you know some success, or at least throughout the playoffs, if the playoffs are even a possibility at this point in the season. But the Lakers are just gonna have to give that pick up. You just have to give it up, cut your losses, and not go down this road and not make the same mistake again. There's nothing out there really, trade deadline wise. I think the Lakers are stuck. They're stuck with the team that they have right now mostly, and I think you might be able to maybe move a Trevor Ariza, maybe a Dwight Howard, maybe a vet who can you know contribute on the continuing team, but I don't think that a lot of they don't have a lot of assets that a lot of teams are really interested in. Talon Horton Tucker was a guy that you heard a lot of trade buzz and about, and but no team seems to really view him as a guy that they um, can build around. He's viewed as a role player, probably bench guy. So you're not going to get a lot of compensation back for him. You're not going to get a star player. You're not going to get anybody you need right now. Which is some more youth. Some more athleticism. Guys who can play defense. Guys who can come in and fill that Caruso, that KCP role. You're not going to get that right now with any of any of the trade assets that the Lakers currently hold. So I think that this is the beginning of the end for this version of the Lakers. And I've been a Laker fan my whole life. I've seen really good teams. I've seen really really bad teams, and I've seen everything else in between too. So my my ability to be objective is on 100. I'm 100. I'm able to be 100% objective with the team that I'm watching, and with the basketball that they play. And it's not. It doesn't take a professional. It doesn't take a GM or a coach or a player to see that they're not playing good basketball to see that they fit. There's clearly a lot of holes. They're clearly lacking a lot of needs, especially defensively. So this team is not good. Salary cap. There's salary cap issues, obviously, with three guys making over 35 million. with LeBron, AD, and Russ. Um, so there's not a whole lot of flexibility that the Lakers have right now. And if you know if Anthony Davis is not if he doesn't play like he's the best player in the league, then the Lakers really have no championship window. Even with LeBron playing as good as he is now, I don't think that they are good enough. I don't think that that's going to be good enough to beat a team like the Warriors in the 7 game series to beat Suns team in the 7 game series. Um, Even in Memphis, you'll struggle against the Memphis as well too. So there's a lot of there's a lot of up and coming teams, who are really they're really looking to take that next step. Denver is another team. They've struggled. They've had some injuries, but come playoff time, I expect them to be a tough out. There's younger teams who are going to get better, who are going to add more pieces. As time goes on, they're going to add free agency pieces. They're going to execute trades. They're going to make their teams better. So the Lakers just can't say, hey, we got Anthony Davis and we got LeBron James, and that's all we need, and we can just fill in anybody else around. No, no, no. That's definitely not how. Um, that's not how it's. The Lakers are going to win another championship. They need to be meticulous about constructing a team that is um, tailor made to fit around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And the emphasis on defense has to be there. You have to have guys out there who are going to give effort on defense, guys who are going to get down in the stance and guard somebody. Guys who are going to put pressure on the ball, rebound, and just be tough and ultimately just give effort and have that toughness and grittiness. That's what that championship team had, that bubble championship team. There was a lot of guys on the team who were tough, who had a lot of grit. And that team wasn't a great shooting team, but they were still able to get it done defensively. You look at KCP, like I mentioned earlier, Caruso as well. You look at the Markeith Morris. You look at guys like this, Rondo. You look at these guys are tough. With a lot of callous. They built up a lot of callous. They played a lot of ball in the league, and they have just been those rangy vets, to be able to get the job done, especially on the defensive end. Be able to box out, get tough rebounds, take charges, do all of that stuff, all the little stuff that lets win ball games, and it can be the difference between, taking the charge and maybe fouling one of their best players, the other team's best players out, or, getting a block at a crucial time, getting a steal, whatever. You're keeping points off the board for your opponent, and that can mean the difference, in a one-score game or whatever, especially down, when it comes down to the playoffs and in situations like that. So those guys are completely just invaluable. You can never have enough of those tough guys on the team, and right now the Lakers don't have that. They just don't. And the guys that they do have are a little bit past their prime, which is fine, but you you have to score points the way that the Lakers are currently constructed, and they just don't do enough of that. They can't go out there and outscore teams. They can't go out there and win a lot of ball games without playing good defense or without ratcheting up the intensity on defense a little bit. And that's something that they really haven't done consistently all year. But like I said, the trade deadline is less than 24 hours away. We will see what goes on between now and then. I expect some type of move. The team the team itself just seems very 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 melancholy, very kind of down in the dumps a little bit. So there has to be some type of shakeup that goes on. Even if it's not a big shakeup, I think there will be some type of shakeup that happens. Just to, if nothing else, try to bring some energy into the building, try to bring some energy into that locker room, and maybe try to go on a run or whatever, and try to salvage the rest of the season as best as they can. But as the way that it's looking right now, I don't think that they are. I just don't think that they're capable of really doing anything. Maybe squeaking in the playoffs, maybe, but you're at that point. It's a first round exit, and they're done. Um, and back to the original point, and back to what the title of the video is LeBron is done winning championships now. 19 years in the league, a fantastic 19 years. Um, Obviously, one of the best players of all time. The probably the best player of this current generation now. But I think it's over for championships. The only way LeBron wins championships, more championships, is if he goes ring chasing. Similarly to Shaq or somebody else who in any other all time great who went ring chasing at the end of their career, like to chase rings. But I don't see LeBron doing that. That would be detrimental to his legacy. Especially in the conversation with Jordan and all that stuff. That would just be that would invalidate him from being the best player of all time in a lot of people's opinions. Mine as well too. That would be a weak move to go and do that. And I just don't. I don't see him doing that. He's signed to the Lakers for at least 2 more seasons, I think, before he even has the player option to go anywhere else. But the way that the Lakers are currently constructed, unless there is some type of wholesale, and I mean wholesale changes that are made with LeBron being the only person there who's safe, unless there's wholesale changes, then you can look at something different. If I don't know, the Lakers were to make a blockbuster trade and trade Anthony Davis for Damian Lillard or something like that, then maybe you can talk about championship contention at that point. But it would take something like that for the championship window to open back up. It's slowly closing now. Every game it's closing more and more, and I think LeBron knows that right now. That's why I think he's so frustrated. He really had a chance to maximize his his winning here in LA, and I think these past 2 seasons have not gone well. Obviously last year he was last season was the first time we really seen him battle with injuries, and he's dealt with it a little more this season. And I think he's done a little low maintenance as well too, just to try to maintain his body as best as he can. But at the same time, the grass that he has on the NBA is slowly starting to go away as he ages, and he's aging very well. But I just don't think that his impact is the same. A lot of people, when you talk about him aging, you talk about LeBron aging, and there's a bunch of people, a bunch of guys, a bunch of LeBron lovers who will sit there and will just consistently talk about his stats and bring up his stats, and he's averaging 25, 7, and 5, and whatever, blah blah blah. And they'll just consistently bring up his stats, and he's averaging more points now than he did a few years ago, and whatever, blah blah blah. But I think for real basketball people, for real basketball fans, they know the difference between just the stats and what the impact on the game really is. Because we live in a stat era now. All these guys put up stats. There's a bunch of guys who put up stats all the time, and you can use any statistic you want to try to strengthen your argument. But when you actually watch the game, I think it's the impact that the stats that everybody brings up. It's the impact that those stats have on the game. And I don't even know how much LeBron is averaging this year. I think it's 25 or 26 or something like that. Everybody's saying, he can lead the league in scoring and all that stuff. And yeah, it's great, but those stats are not directly leading to wins, which means his impact, all those stats and everything that everybody wants to bring up, it all looks good on paper, but it's not impacting the game as much as it did before. I don't like I said I don't know how much he's averaging this year, but you know one of his lowest seasons, I think he averaged like 24 a game or something like that. I think it was an MVP season. It was like 24 or something like that. But those 24 points and however many assists and rebounds or whatever, they had a profound impact on the game. Meaning, a lot of those points, a lot of those rebounds, a lot of those assists came at crucial points in the game. They came at times where especially when he was playing for the Cavs, in that second stint, a lot of those points, rebounds, assists, they came at crucial points and like turning points in the game. So you know, Cleveland's going on an 8-0 run or whatever. And LeBron comes down, knocks down a couple threes, drives the ball, and he finds Kyle Korver for an open three or something like that. So those are like very very impactful stats. Now it's a bunch of just fluff because these stats are not impacting the game. He can score as many points as he wants to, but if you're down by 20, in the second quarter, those stats are not really going to mean anything going forward. And especially without the consistent team defense that his previous teams have had, the previous Lakers teams have had. It doesn't really amount to anything but just stats and just stuff to put on a record sheet, and it obviously is going to go towards him, breaking the all-time scoring record that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar holds. But as far as the impact that it has on games, it's not there. And I wish people would see that and just leave the numbers alone a little bit. Watch a game. I don't. I think LeBron had like 27 last night. The Lakers lost by 15, and we're down by as much as 30. So those stats are not directly impacting the game. And if you look at Russell Westbrook, he's a guy who his stats don't directly impact the game. You look at I believe he averaged a triple double last season in Washington. His stats did not impact winning. They didn't affect the Wizards. They didn't put the Wizards over the hump. It's just stats and it's just numbers, and it has it really has no impact as far as the success that you want to reach, and especially the bar is high for LeBron. He set the bar high, so the stats and all that stuff is not going to cut it. You want to win. You want to win championships. You want to win rings. He came out here to LA to win, and Laker fans are not. We don't care about stats. Most Laker fans do not care about. As a matter of fact, all the Laker fans that I know don't care about stats at all. Nobody gives a shit. It's about what you do that impacts the game. Whatever amount of points you have, assists, whatever. How does that impact the game? And in those 08, 09, 2010, the finals years and all that stuff. Like there's a bunch of guys on the team who they were not stat mavens. They didn't put up a lot of big flashy numbers and stuff. Sasha Vujic just comes to mind. You look at a guy like that, he would come in and score like 10 points in a game, whatever. But his 10 points would be, he's knocking down 2 threes, and he's cutting to the basket and getting open layups when the Lakers are up by one, down by one, whatever. So the points that he's scoring are impactful, and they have meaning in the game, and they can switch momentum in the game as well too. You look at a Meta World Peace. He would be the like sort of the same too. A Derek Fisher, you look at him with knocking down open threes and stuff like that. So it wasn't just about stats. It's about how do you affect the game with whatever output you have, like whether you score 30, whether you score 3. Does your 30 points a game, does it impact the game enough for you to actually win it and for you to actually be in it at the end? Are you scoring your 30 points in impactful moments, right? Are you scoring them in swing time when momentum shifts from one team to another? What are you doing with that? Like when are your assists coming? Are your 15 assists coming at the right time? Is some of your 15 assists coming within the last 5 minutes of the game? Are you finding wide open teammates? Are you cutting to the hole and finding the big guys running the floor hard and getting and ones? What is it like? What are your numbers saying? what are your numbers saying about your impact? And I think a lot of people, especially Lakers fans, we know what that means because we've seen a lot of championships, and we've seen that we've seen what that means with consistent role players as well as stars too. Kobe as well too. His you get to those championships and you talk about points and all that stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you impacting that game? The one game that comes to mind is that game seven in 2010. Kobe had a horrible shooting game. I think he only had like 15 points or something like that, but I think he grabbed like 15 rebounds. But he was grabbing rebounds at crucial points. I remember a lot of those coming in that last quarter was crazy. It seemed like it lasted for like 2 hours, but I remember Kobe grabbing a bunch of rebounds, like boxing out, grabbing rebounds, like fighting guys, like doing things to impact the game. It's not just stats. It's not just I got this many rebounds. Are you impacting the game? And I think um, we're in a point right now where LeBron's stats are not impacting the game as much as they used to. And we're used to seeing all of his numbers and all of his great numbers and from his MVP years. We're used to seeing all that impact the game, or we're used to seeing that, lead to his team getting to the finals and having a bunch of success, and it's just not happening right now. So I think we're at a point right now where we really just got have to just hope for the best right now, especially as Lakers fans. You got to hope for the best. It's just not it's not happening for us right now. We're just not um, we're not a good team. They like I pointed out, they're lacking on several aspects. It's just it hasn't been a good season at all. But I think a lot of people need to look at this from a objective standpoint, understand whether you're a Laker fan, a LeBron fan, or whatever. You just have to understand that this thing is coming to a screeching halt. Like I said, um, barring anything that is unforeseen, huge blockbuster trades and a huge cleaning of house, barring any of that, we are in for this team pretty much going forward, and we're just gonna have to, like I said, hope for the best. I'm still a Laker fan. I still want them to win, but at the same time, I'm realistic and I understand that this is probably not our year, and it 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 helps to just bask in it, and understand it, and once you do, you're kind of just along for the ride, but you've already let yourself get to a point where you know that okay, this is be not gonna be a great year. It's not gonna be uh, you know um, one of those seasons where you're on the edge of your seat every game. You're it's just not gonna be that. So if you put in your mind early, it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, but that's pretty much how I feel, man. I think LeBron's done winning championships, and by proxy, the Lakers are done winning championships, which that sucks. But it is what it is. The organization has some cleaning up to do. I think LeBron coming to LA was cool, but I think it was a band aid on a bad organization. The Lakers were a bad organization at the time. They did not do things properly. They didn't develop players properly. They put all their eggs in LeBron's basket because he was coming out here, and it worked for a while, but now it's ran its course, and I think we're going to be back to square one here pretty soon. Within the next year and a half or so. So, but like I said, we'll see what happens we'll see what happens going forward, and it is what it is, and but still we'll still watch, and we'll still we'll still root for the Lakers, and not gonna watch every game. Damn sure not gonna watch every game, but I'm gonna still root for them as much as I can, and just take it out, take it how it is, and wait for baseball season if it ever starts, and but that's pretty much all I got there. But like I said, I don't want none of the bronze sexuals to come at me. Before you think about coming at me, just think about it. Watch some games. Think about it. Think about it objectively. Um, before you just start talking shit or whatever. But yeah, that's just my opinions, man. That's pretty much all I got for the day. I'll definitely be back tomorrow. Trade deadline stuff. If anything pops off, I'm gonna probably just jump on real quick, do a quick live, and give my reactions if there's any trade that goes down that happens within the next 12 hours or so. But I'll be back to talk probably more NBA tomorrow. Maybe some Rams and Bengals. There hasn't been too many huge stories though, so I'm kind of just waiting for the game. And as the game gets closer, we'll start to talk about who I think is going to win and what matchups I want to see and so on and so forth. But that's all I got for tonight, guys. Like I said, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Got more content coming out soon. Yeah, and thank you guys for the support. See you later.